Hello, welcome into the CHGO White Sox Podcast. On today's show, we're going to be talking about Alec Bohm hitting the trade block, according to Jeff Passan, and if he would be a nice headliner for a Garrett Crochet trade. Plus, Nicky Lopez, Naperville Nicky, has elected free agency. CHGO White Sox Podcast coming to you live from Studio 8 of our CHGO offices here in the West Loop of Chicago. I'm your host, Sean Anderson. Alongside me, the full CHGO White Sox crew. That is our CHGO White Sox beat writer, Vinnie Duber. And the man in the middle is Herb Lawrence. Hello. Our CHGO White Sox community leader. We are being produced today by our pal, Sarah.
Hi.
And on today's show, we'll be talking about Alec Bohm and if he would be an interesting headliner for a Garrett Crochet trade between the White Sox and the Phillies, and we'll be talking about Nicky Lopez and Sammy Peralta electing free agency. Also, Michael Rock Soroka getting some interest as a reliever on the free agency market. We'll talk about all that and more on the CHGO White Sox Podcast. Hit that thumbs up button. Make sure you're subscribing to the CHGO Sports YouTube channel. I see Matt Peck over there. That means a Bull Show is coming up here on the CHGO Sports YouTube channel. It didn't last night. And we had an emergency podcast too. Earlier today, the CHGO Bear Show, throwing that pigskin. Well, Shane Waldron at least isn't anymore. He got fired. So if you're looking for reaction for that, the CHGO Bears crew had about 40 minutes of that coverage for you earlier today. Let's get into it. Jeff Passan gave a little, what's it called? What would you call that?
A primer, an off-season primer.
He gave an off-season primer for you about where all the free agents are going to go and all the trade candidates. And he wrote a little blurb on Garrett Crochet. There wasn't much to glean from it. Same favorites that we've heard, the top 5 teams that seem logical. And then there was a note about Philly third baseman Alec Bohm being on the trade block. You've been very curious. Why is Alec Bohm of the Philadelphia Phillies on the trade block? Have you figured it out, Vinnie Duber?
No, not really. I mean, if we're going by what Jeff said, he wrote that they were maybe looking to shake things up. I think the Phillies have a phenomenal roster. I'm not quite sure why they would want to shake things up so badly. But listen, they haven't gotten that World Series that they've been looking for since 2008, right? With this really great assemblage of talent that they have. Bohm was not good in the second half, and so I guess if you're looking for a position to be able to make an upgrade, maybe they think that. But this is a guy who was a former very high draft pick, of a very well thought of prospect, came up here. And this past season, was in the All-Star game. So not really sure of the need to trade for him, but the Phillies are a team that is always active in trying to bring in really big names. They are always willing to spend really big dollars to do that. So maybe freeing up a spot over at third base helps them go after somebody else, or maybe it's, hey, there's a trade piece that we'd really like to bring in out there. Maybe this is the guy we dangled to do it. He's out there apparently, according to Jeff. But if I'm the Phillies, I would be maybe hesitant to give myself another position of need when I maybe don't have to.
I've made this comparison before, but you guys have seen the Roadrunner, right? Wile E. Coyote in the Roadrunner.
Tremendous.
No, I've never seen it.
Okay. You're a young cat. But Wile E. Coyote would always set up these traps from the Acme company, and barely it would not work out with catching the Roadrunner.
Is that Acme's fault, or is that...
It was more human error. However,
okay. Well,
coyote error.
Yeah, right.
There. And then he would scrap that whole plan that just barely missed the Roadrunner and get something totally different. And that's what this feels like for the Philadelphia Phillies. They were the number 1 team in the National League last year and happened to get beat by a hot Mets team who was going into the playoffs hot as hell and then continued that. And that's fine. But now they're thinking about trading their 28-year-old all-star third baseman for what? And now I also read in Philadelphia, is Kyle Schwarber really the guy at leadoff hitter? It's like, No, guys, you guys have starting pitcher up the ass. You have great starting pitchers. You have a great lineup. Just send that same lineup and starting pitching back out there for the 2025 season and see what happens. Now, once you lose in the playoffs, you're like, oh, what can we do that's different? Oh, yeah, get rid of this guy who's got 2 more years on his contract, who's young, $8 million probably going to be making next year, and change up the whole thing, which I just can't stand. And so it gives me pause when teams do, like, throw out the baby with the bathwater type of thing. Like, what's wrong with Alec Bohm? Is he defective? Is he a bad clubhouse guy? What is wrong with him that they want to get rid of him? Because money's no option in Philadelphia. He's still under contract, relatively good at third base, as Vinny just pointed out. He's an all-star. So why would they want to trade away him for a guy like Garrett Crochet? Good, but not great.
Well, and to be fair, we, and by we, I mean me, made the connection for Crochet and Bohm. I just saw, Jeff Passan said he's on the trade block. What about X plus Y equals Z?
Philly was one of the teams that Jeff mentioned as being interested in Garrett Crochet. Yeah, who isn't interested in Garrett Crochet, of course. Though.
Absolutely. Yeah. We'll talk about the logistics of what a trade might look like between the Phillies and White Sox, but at least just more on Bohm and the Phillies. Like, I agree with you. I don't know if they really need the pitching. Wheeler, Sanchez, Nola, and Suarez is a great 1 through 4. Walker's getting paid a ton of money, and he's really bad, so maybe they look to upgrade that 5th spot there. But they do have Jose Ruiz and Tanner Banks, who just make me smile because they're White Sox legends. And looking at this lineup, the questions of Schwarber being a leadoff hitter, really, who cares? He hits 40 homers. Just, take it. And be happy.
He's good at any spot in the lineup.
I heard that with the Cubs, and now they're just like, oh, why did we not tender him? Live and you learn. But with Bohm, I think the thing is just he's 28, and he's made his journey with the Phillies, right? He was drafted by the team. He's played there for 4 years. He had that moment on Sunday Night Baseball where he said, I think I effing hate this place. And that was picked up and put in slow motion so everyone could read his lips. Him saying, I effing hate this place. I think it's mainly because he doesn't cost money. And it's the same thing with Garrett Crochet. He's got control. So it's just trading an asset at his highest peak because you can get something for him now rather than just letting him play out his 2 years of his contract and then letting him walk away in free agency, because it's likely that they wouldn't be spending in 2 years. It does seem like this is a classic Dave Dombrowski team that does have an expiration date. Maybe they feel like 2025 is that expiration date and they need to have the most talent as possible to make that run. Bohm, while good and obviously 3-war season, he might not be good enough, and maybe he's a little bit too young enough, and there's a little bit too much pressure in his head. Maybe it's a guy that isn't strong enough mentally, where you have Castellanos and Schwarber and Harper who have gone through the trials and tribulations and are already veterans, where Bohm's playing for a contract. They might just be looking for guys who can contribute right now. Maybe they go get a Mark Canha. I don't think he can play third base. I don't know why I brought him up.
He's your guy this offseason.
Yeah, but maybe Bregman. Bregman's a guy that's been to the World Series before. Who cares what Alex Bregman looks like in 6 years? Because as long as Philly has a World Series, that's all that matters. I think that's the idea.
Sure. And listen, I don't think that, trying to match up Garrett Crochet with Philly is a bad idea either. Not only are they being mentioned out there by others, but like we said, it's a team that is always looking to add to that good group that they've got. And this one, Garrett Crochet, won't even cost them money.
Yep.
It just costs them prospects, of which they have a lot. I'm sure we'll be talking about that a little down the road. But the question when you texted us this idea earlier today, the first thing that pops in my mind is, okay, well, how much longer is Bohm under control for? 2 years? Sox don't want him. Why would the Sox trade their best trade asset for a guy that they won't even have or won't be guaranteed to have? Even if he is an all-star and continues playing as an all-star, right? The next time they are expecting to be good, the next time they're expecting to be contenders. If you're going to soak up all of the potential volume that you could get in young prospects that would be with you for a long, long way, why would you soak that up with one guy who's an all-star? Granted, maybe you get a little more than just one guy, but one all-star player who's going to be gone in 2 years. And so, to me, it's not with the Phillies. Oh, what are the Phillies thinking in trading for Garrett Crochet? No, that's obvious.
Yep.
It's what would the White Sox be thinking in trading for Bohm? I mean, it's it comes back to the same point I'm seemingly making every single day when we talk about the White Sox, because I think it's the only point, which is this is going to take a really long time. And even if you could immediately give yourself a third baseman who you could start 150 games if he would remained healthy, right? 150 games for the next 2 years. It's only the next 2 years. Mm-hmm. You're trading Garrett Crochet and you're trading Dylan Cease and you're trading Luis Robert Jr. to load yourself up for the foreseeable future, to do what Rick Hahn did when he traded Sale and Eaton and Quintana, thank you, who's a free agent, and a bunch of teams are going to go after him again this year. But to try to do what he did when he did that, load yourself up for the foreseeable future. So I don't think that trading for a player with 2 years of control left, no matter how good they are, no matter how young they are, makes any sense for the White Sox right now, because in this scenario where you're trading Garrett Crochet, because that is the one opportunity that you, or what two if you include Robert, if Robert's able to bounce back, but that's the one opportunity that you need to cash in on.
Now, the Phillies, I know why they would go for Garrett Crochet, as you pointed out. He's the top of the league pitcher in his 1 year as a starter, and also it's a defense move for them, the Dodgers, not getting him. So if you allow him to be out there and allow the Dodgers to do what the Dodgers do, then you're just putting yourself behind the 8-ball there and not having one of the best pitchers out there and allowing them to get him. But for the White Sox, if Bohm would be the part, like the headliner of the trade, I would say no, as Vinny said, because he's only here for 2 years. Now, if you're doing a 3-team trade where Bohm is getting acquired by the White Sox and then immediately swung to another team with more prospects, fine. But I would just say, why don't you just deal with the team that you're trading him to instead? So, yeah, it makes no sense for the White Sox to acquire somebody who's, firstly, long in the tooth for what they're going to be doing, and then secondly, going to cost money. Like, the next 2 years, they're going to cost more money than any player except for Luis Robert on your active squad. And what production is he going to bring to that team? And what is he going to bring back to in a trade? So I don't think that is anything that the White Sox should be doing. I know that they're focused on getting position players, but I think that player is just a little too old for the White Sox and what they're doing right now.
Yeah, and I mean, we have about a month and a half until the end of the year, and it seems like most reports, whether it be Mark Feinsand of MLB or Bob Nightingale of USA Today, we can expect a Crochet deal to happen by the end of the year. We'll see if that's actually going to happen, because we've heard that before, and we'll see how the free agency all plays out and shakes out. But right now, if Dave Dombrowski and Chris Getz are having conversations, I think it's fair that Alec Bohm's probably being brought up at least. So I do wonder if it's interesting at all to Chris Getz. As you guys mentioned, it's probably interesting for the Phillies because they clearly have interest in getting rid of Alec Bohm. It's like, oh, we can get Garrett Crochet, cool. But as Matty Rice says, Aiden Miller is the guy to get from the Phillies. That's the thing with these conversations. I can look at the top prospect list of the Phillies and see Aiden Miller, and he plays shortstop, and he's got an ETA of 2027. It's like, yeah, seems great. Sounds good. Do the Phillies want to give up that guy?
No.
Like, that's probably not. So, like, where is the actual give and take, and who can the White Sox actually get? It seems like Bohm is one of those names that they can get, but is Miller a guy that, would be untouchable for them? Or does that make no sense? Trade Aiden Miller and all the prospects that you have, keep the all-star third baseman, and then you get Garrett Crochet.
And you get an all-star starter to go along with it.
That sounds better to me. Give me Aiden Miller. Let's see if he works out.
The only thing that you would say that possibly the Phillies will be thinking of is their general manager, the president of baseball ops, is Dave Dombrowski. He's a guy who's, let's win now. Let's win now. He traded a lot of prospects away in his career, both with the Tigers and with the Boston Red Sox, where he's trying to get that team back to the glory they used to have. So Dave Dombrowski is a trader like that. And so I would think that, yes, he does value Aiden Miller as a top prospect, but that's 2027. Dave Dombrowski's like, I'm a short timer sometimes here. Like, sometimes I outstay my welcome really quickly. So let's go and trade the players I need to trade so I can get the best players on my team currently, and then I can go somewhere else.
I like just Dave Dombrowski is a trader, like TRAITAR. Anyways,
he's a trader.
It's a good show. I'll give it, if you got Peacock, it's a good show. You should check it out. All right, we're going to take a break. We got more on Garrett Crochet and the Phillies. soon after the break. But first, we got to let you know about our friends over at Line Google.
Absolutely we do, because, it's getting cold outside. The high today was in the 40s. Not happy about that. I wish it could be summer every day, year-round. And guess what? It can be if you're drinking summer shandy from Line & Kugel's, because it is year-round now. The tremendous tasting beer they've got over there at Line & Kugel's allows you to keep that summertime mindset. Maybe the snow's going to fall. Not anytime soon, hopefully, but maybe there's going to be snow on the ground. You're still going to want to go out and grill. Take a summer shandy with you. It'll feel like the summertime. Maybe you're going to want an icy picnic over by Lake Michigan, but if you take a summer shandy with you, it'll feel like the summertime. Maybe, though, you're like, hey, bring on the cold weather and bring on all the variety, because Line & Kugel's has so much. You could warm up with a honey vice or a berry vice, perhaps. You could warm up with a Lakeside Cherry or a Sunset Wheat, or even a Liney's Original up there in Wisconsin, where they do great work on the beer front. So what you should do is flavor every moment with Line & Kugel's. It is the official craft beer of the Chicago White Sox. Go to liney.com/CHGO to find delivery options near you. That's LEINIE.com/CHGO. Or pick up Line & Kugel's pretty much anywhere they sell beer. Line & Kugel's, flavor the moment. Celebrate responsibly. The Jacob Line & Kugel Brewing Company, Chippewa Falls.
Yes.
Hey, Sean.
Hey, Herb.
Did you know ComEd can help businesses save money by becoming more energy efficient?
I did not know that ComEd did that.
Yep. The Energy Efficiency Program can help you find up to 35% in energy savings.
Wow. So what does a business have to do?
You know what? They just have to sign up for free facility assessment at ComEd.com/biz.
That sounds great. Why aren't more businesses doing this, Herb?
Sean, I think they forgot the website. Can you help them out?
Yeah, it's ComEd.com/biz, 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 ComEd.com/biz.
Thank you.
ComEd.com/biz.
Terms and conditions apply. Offers are subject to change. Actual savings will vary by customer's energy usage and rate. The ComEd Energy Efficiency Program is funded in compliance with state law.
ComEd.com/biz. All right, let's get back into the discussions here. I don't know. It does seem like, as you brought up, the Phillies would be a team that would trade Aiden Miller. And when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, Chris Getz has been very apparent about his want for position players. So I think the deal that's going to ultimately get done is the deal that offers the best position player as a headliner. I think that, if it's 3 to 4 pieces, the third piece really doesn't matter, like the level of bat. It's just about, kind of getting a player, I think.
Volume. It's about volume.
Yeah. It's, if you can go get an Aiden Miller, is that the best prospect that's out there? And I think that would be the true definer on if a deal gets done with Philly or not. I think the Red Sox have been really out there. Every single primer, whether it's Jeff Passan's or not, it seems like this is a team that is trying to get back into the discussion in the AL East. It seems like if I had to have a leader, it's the Red Sox, just because they might not trade number 1 prospect in baseball, Roman Anthony, but Marcelo Mayer is a top 10 prospect, and it seems like Christian Campbell is likely going to be a top 50 prospect. They have 3 possible bats that are top 50 that I think they could go away from, or they could be willing to talk themselves into relinquishing those players. So I think that I would just have to lead with the Red Sox, because I think there is a possibility that they trade a top 50 position player bat.
It's possible. The thing I would point out, though, is another thing that I've brought up a couple times now, which is every team's got a different situation, right? And, hey, the Boston Red Sox, they are trying to get back into it, but they have young talent, and they maybe have a little bit more of a runway. If they were to compete for the World Series next year, that would be a surprise, right? That would be exceeding expectations. Whereas the Philadelphia Phillies, who have 4 prospects in the top 100 on MLB, are doing what Herb just said. They're trying to win the World Series next year. Mm-hmm. And if they fail to do so, that will be failing to meet expectations. So if you're just talking about the impetus in terms of where a team is in its competitive window or cycle or whatever word you want to use, the Phillies would seem to me to be a little bit more desperate to improve, even though we've sat here and told you how great their roster already is and they might not even need to improve it. But compared to the Red Sox might be like, well, why don't we just hang on to all the guys that Sean just said, and then 3 years from now, they'll team with the free agents we're going to start signing now, and all of a sudden, we're going to have, in 2 or 3 years, we're going to have this team that's going to be at the top of the most competitive division in baseball.
Yeah, and I think Philadelphia or Boston, I don't know if they have the same pressures that Philadelphia does. Usually they do. But since they've been coming off this last couple of years where the Red Sox owner has been crying poor and having to purge stuff, it looks like now they're hit level ground and now ready to reestablish themselves in the AL East and about to get more spindy than they usually have been. So this general manager, Craig Breslow, who just took over last year or the year before.
Last year, yeah.
Is probably looking for a splash. You're looking for a guy that is at the top of the rotation. And yes, these prospects are huge and they're at the top and probably going to be at Boston soon and very soon. But seeing the Yankees in the World Series, probably a thorn in their side. Baltimore just being so good the last couple of years. I'm sure Boston is itching. It's like, these teams are good, but we can be better because we've won 4 World Series since 2004. We are the class of MLB. We need to get back up there. Now, will that pressure be there for Craig Breslow? I don't know. But traditionally, yeah, Boston is 100% that team that's like, nah, we don't like missing the playoffs. So there might be an impetus for Craig Breslow to put his mark on the team and say, yes, we're going for it. We're going to sign Garrett Crochet to a long-term extension. And yeah, these players, not maybe the top guy, these other players in the top 100 might have to go. It's going to be painful. But guess what? We're going to have a rotation that you guys in Boston are going to be proud of, and I would be thrilled to get into Boston's top 100.
The AL East is going to be nuts this winter because you've got the Red Sox doing everything that Herb was just talking about. You've got Toronto trying to capitalize on all the guys that they have who are maybe not going to be in Toronto for very much longer. No. You've got the Yankees who are PO'd that they just lost the World Series. You've got the Orioles who are in their first offseason with a brand new owner, not to mention all their talent, who then that owner is going to want to spend to supplement that talent. And you've got the Tampa Bay Rays, who are the Tampa Bay Rays every year, but didn't make the playoffs last year. So are a team that are going to maybe want to get back to there. Not that the Rays are going to be going out there and signing Soto as much as they might be interested or something like that. But the idea is all 5 of those teams are going to go into this winter thinking we can win that division or compete in that division next year. But there's going to be moves that are going to need to be made in order to get them there. The AL East is going to dominate this offseason, I think.
Absolutely. And I think they saw 3 AL Central teams in the playoffs, and they were like, oh, we could do that. Maybe there's probably even talks, too, within the AL East, like if they can get the representation of the AL Central division winner. But they win 90 games, and, you got the Tigers winning 86. Like, hey, we got 4 more wins.
And remember, it took a collapse by the Twins, so they didn't have 4 teams from the AL Central in the playoffs. That was it. And I'm sure the AL East is looking like the Central. Come on now. Yeah. Come on.
All right. And then just to go, because we're going to tie this in together and try to figure this out, and this is basically what we've been talking about for the past couple months here, as Uncle Ted points out, because trading with the Red Sox has worked well in the past. The trade with Chris Sale was smart at the time, and if they made a Chris Sale trade right now, everyone would be over the moon. Moncada was a top 10 prospect. Kopech was a top 10 prospect. You got their number 1 and number 2 prospects for Chris Sale. It was obviously a different player than Garrett Crochet is. Crochet has had 1 year of this. Sale was multiple years of this. Same thing with Cease. Cease had 1 dominant Cy Young year where Sale was 4+ years. So that is part of the reason why you got their top prospects. But still, I mean, this is a team that was looking to rebuild, and they went from being horrible in 2018 to winning the AL Central in 2021 and 93 wins. It wasn't sustained success, but there was success, and it's foolish to not think that. And the only way they got to that success was because of the Moncada trade and Kopech trade.
Also, they traded Jake Peavy to the Red Sox and got Avi.
Yes.
They did. And and I don't judge trades personally on the result of the trade. I judge them about the time that they are and what projections they are, because you cannot tell me that a player is going to be X, Y, and Z in 5 years from there. Like, everybody knew or thought that Yoan Moncada was going to be an all-star by this time. The fact that he didn't come there is some of the White Sox fault, but it wasn't because of the trade. It wasn't a bad trade. Actually, I thought it was a great trade for the White Sox. Getting a live arm like Michael Kopech, now you see how good he is. And maybe you'll see how good Yoan Moncada is with a different team. But I'm not a fan of, you don't go back and trading with that team because you lost the trade eventually because Chris Sale won the World Series. We knew Chris Sale was going to be good on some other team. The reason why we traded him is because we were in a rebuild. Same thing that's going on now. Garrett Crochet is going to be good, and it's going to hurt when he wins a World Series for some other team or Cy Young. But hopefully Chris Getz and his staff can bring back some players. At first blush, you look at it, it's like, yes, that is the trade you want to have. That's what you hold out for, White Sox. Good job, Chris Getz. I appreciate you. And you after that, you roll the dice and see if those players can actually play. But at the time of the trade, I don't think anybody was like, oh, the White Sox got fleeced by the Red Sox. Not one person, I don't think.
No, and they didn't. I mean, again, I think that was a win-win trade. The White Sox wanted to rebuild. They started their rebuild. They ended up winning an AL Central division title. The Red Sox won a World Series. Congratulations. There you go. And then Chris Sale's happy in Atlanta. I think the only thing that I would take away from that Sale deal is look at where Chris Sale was 10 years from now, and he's still winning a Cy Young. Garrett Crochet, I think, is a very similar player, will likely have similar success. It's why the extension would be important, but I think that's just really wasted breath at this point. I'm going through the top 20 right now and trying to put names that I could see being included in a a Garrett Crochet trade.
Mm-hmm.
Here are the names that I have as no-goes. Roman Anthony is the third prospect in baseball, according to MLB.com. It seems like the Red Sox have said that's a no-go, so we'll put him on the no-go list. Walker Jenkins, Max Clark, Travis Bazzana, Jack Caglione, and J.J. Weatherholt, all from this recent draft, and 4 of the 5 are in the division. I don't think Garrett Crochet is being traded to the Twins, Royals, Guardians, or the other team that I can't think of.
Tigers.
Which I get, but also I always disagree with. If he's good and if they're giving you the best prospects, I don't care where he's going. You're going to play every single team, and I know you play the Central more than other teams, but you're playing every single team. I don't care where he goes. If they're giving the best deal, give me that player.
Where's that Les Grobstein bobblehead? And I'll just keep pressing it until I get a Lou Brock drop. I mean, like, you don't trade Ernie Broglio for Lou Brock because he's just going to torment you.
They played like 20 times versus each other, the Cardinals and the Cubs. You play 13, and if he is great, great. But you're trading him away. You're going to have to face Garrett Crochet next year, more than likely. So trade him to the best. Yeah, but
it's trading him. It's facing him once or facing him 3 times. And then you got a guy with extra motivation to shove it down your throat.
Great.
But guess what? You have Garrett Crochet right now, and you lose to those teams every time you play.
Exactly.
Well, that's true.
Like I get that's old school mentality to me. Like I got it, but also if they're giving the best offer, I don't want to trade him because it'll be so like the Cubs. I would trade him immediately to the Cubs.
I think you would find very few and potentially 0 people running baseball ops departments that think that way. I think they would refuse to trade with a team in their division.
I'm glad.
Because it's all about how much talent you can have, put your guys against their guys, and go out and play the game. Mm-hmm. Like, the idea that you are going to harm yourself more by trading a good player in the division right now when you're not even planning on having a contending team for 2 or 3 years. What does it matter? Let him go win a Cy Young and win a World Series for the Royals if they're going to give you the best package that nobody else out in baseball is going to give you, and then reevaluate things in 3 years when supposedly, or ideally, right, all the players they just traded you are going to be at all-star level for your team.
Well,
right?
But just to, I think even more in this conversation, they are low budget teams.
Yes.
So I don't think that they're even inclined to trade top 20 position player prospects. Even if you're getting a Garrett Crochet. They're not a team that's going to go give him $185 million.
Nope.
So even then, whether it's trading within the division or not, it just does not seem likely, maybe outside of the Tigers, that a team within the AL Central would trade for him. Because Cleveland's not signing that extension. The Twins are getting a new owner, and they're not going to sign that extension. And I would say the same with the Royals because they just gave all their money to Michael Wacha.
Again, I think that they did. I don't know. I understand that the extension is like part of this, but I don't get why. Like, to me, the trade, like, I guess the idea is that a team would be more willing to give up, would be more inclined to give up more if they knew they were going to be able to have Crochet past 2 years from now, right? And so that's fine. But if you're a win now team, you're getting him for 2 years. He's going to be on your team for 2 years. Like, isn't that worth a nice group of prospects? Isn't that worth that, to have that guy pitch for you and pitch for a World Series contender in 25 and 26? I mean, and then hash out the extension later. I mean, this is a guy who seems open to an extension. I mean, if he's open to an extension with the White Sox, why wouldn't he be open to an extension with the team that's trading for him?
Yeah, I'm just thinking that Chris Getz will have a specific player ask, and that specific player ask will be a little painful for only 2 years of Garrett Crochet. And so to alleviate some of that would be, okay, yes, you get my players that you asked for, but is he willing to, talk about extension? And I get what you're saying. You only want him for two years because you are trying to get that World Series, and if 2 years is not enough, you can probably re-entertain that when his contract's up.
And this guy's a major league all-star. This guy's an all-star pitcher in Major League Baseball.
Correct.
The guys you'd be trading have never played Major League Baseball.
Nope.
Unless it's Alec Bohm. All right, let's take a break. I got more on that, but we're hitting a break here, so let's take it. Herb, let us know about Prize Picks.
Prize Picks is the best place to get real money on sports action. With over 10 million members and $1 billion in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made a daily fantasy sports accessible to all. Just pick more or less on at least 2 or more players for a shot of winning up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the only real money daily fantasy platform with an injury insurance policy, so your lineups stay in place even if one of your players gets injured. If your player leaves in the first half and doesn't return, Prize Picks keeps your lineup live. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win. Receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks is the best way to receive real money in this football season. Which player's going off, which ones aren't. Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your sports opinions into real money all season long on Prize Picks. Before the season started, I chose Adley Rutschman and Carlos Correa to have more than one multiple home run game, and they both did, so that got me a bunch of money from Prize Picks. Download the app today and use the code CHGO for $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CHGO to pick up $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game.
Thank you very much. We want to let you know about our friends over at Empire Today. With Empire Today, you get shop at home convenience, the right product for your needs, quick and professional installation, and a low price guarantee. Empire Today is the best place to get new flooring, so of course they have copycats, but Empire cannot be beaten on their quality, service, and speed. That's why competitors advertise low-quality products that Empire simply won't carry. Empire won't promise the lowest prices because anyone who does is putting flooring in your home that they wouldn't put in theirs. Empire keeps shopping for floors simple with a curated product selection. Empire's philosophy is to help you find what you need and not overwhelm you with thousands of choices of substitutes. What they leave out of their selection is just as important as what they put in. Empire's product team exhaustively combs through thousands of product samples each year to find the perfect styles for your home. And you can check out those styles with their virtual floor designer. It's a great way to see how new floors will look in any space. It's easy. Just snap a picture and instantly see how new floors will transform your room. So schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners can receive a $350 off discount when they use promo code CHGO. Restrictions apply. See EmpireToday.com/CHGO for details. All right, Vinny, to your question, why is an extension a part of this? I think Jeff Passan in his thing said, part of the reason why he is alluring to teams is because he's willing to sign an extension.
Right.
Most people like Dylan Cease are going to wait until he hits free agency. And the whole reason that people love these billion-dollar teams is because that means they get a prime free agent for cheap. Because why would you pay a guy $8 million and $230 million on a free market when you could pay him $185?
Sure, I guess
you got 2 years of control that you're just buying out, and he's going to get crap money anyway. So just give him the crap money and then pay him when he's a free agent. Guarantee that money.
Just to me, it's just like, why is Garrett Crochet different in this regard than any other player in baseball? Right? Like, you could trade for somebody who has 2 years of control left. Why is your return or the return or whatever you got to give up, right? Why is that dictated by the idea of a possible extension? Theoretically, you'd want to sign anybody you'd be trading for to a possible extension, right? So I guess what my confusion is, last year during the summer, we heard so much about how, Crochet wants an extension if he's going to pitch into October. It is a part of the trade conversation with Chris Getz. Now, it's just go get Garrett Crochet and then go negotiate a contract. Why does what you're giving up have to change based on hopefully we can sign him to an extension or not? You're thinking that with every player you trade for, aren't you? I don't understand why this is why that is part of this specific conversation. It should be it's part of the conversation with anybody in baseball that gets traded. Why wasn't it part of the conversation the Yankees would have given up more for Juan Soto if he But is there an extension? Ooh, we don't know. We don't know. Like, they gave up a ton for Juan Soto, right? The Padres gave up a ton for Juan Soto before that. Like, everybody wants that guy to be on their team for as long as they can, but you have to make the trade first and then negotiate the contract second.
Yeah, I mean, I guess with the Yankees and that Soto thing specifically, I think they just saw it as a year of, hey, this is going to be our year-long pitch to Juan Soto to try to, not even have him talk to that damn Steve Cohen and his $600 million. I guess it's just more trying to, build that relationship, and they're willing to give up prospects just to build a relationship to possibly give a guy $600 million. We appreciate Ryan in the chat with the super chat for $2. He says, Madrigal, Mervis, and Wisdom for Crochet. You're welcome. Herb, thoughts?
No. Thank you, Ryan.
All right. Well,
appreciate it.
Thank you, Ryan, for throwing that out there.
Appreciate that name spelled correctly. Your parents are smart people.
Hey, and look, we're a White Sox podcast with Cubs fans listening.
My guy Ryan is every day.
Yeah, every day. He's hanging out with us.
Even a Red Sox guy like Uncle Ted, dead and still watching.
Well, no, he's not dead. He's in a
his head's okay.
Yeah, he's headless or he's bodiless.
All still dead.
Yes.
Oh, just cold.
Just cold. Oh,
or colder.
I was just more picturing less the true reality.
Futurama. You were going for a Futurama type situation.
Because that's more of like a funny future where frozen Ted Williams' body is kind of sad. Yeah. Don't read about that one. All right. Jared, shout out to you. But I mean, he's with Vinny, but can't spell your name right.
It's okay.
It's IE.
It's all right.
Oh, okay. All right.
Whatever.
It's all right. You're saved now.
You can call me whatever you want. Just don't call me late for dinner.
But Jared says this is different now, and I can't get my head wrapped around those. Trying to say he's going to get more because he can get extended after the trade. The idea of him getting more. Do you think this is going to be similar to a Chris Sale return, where you get a team's top two prospects, or will it be similar to Cease, where the headliner is 85th in baseball? Like, what's logical for me to look at this, Major League Baseball top 100 and say, oh, that's a player that they can actually acquire?
I mean, I think you do got to look a little bit closer at the Cease return, right? And granted, every year is different, every market is different, but we're in an era right now, it seems like, where there's just a lot less willingness to give up those highly rated prospects, and that's across the board, right? So, you see a team like the Orioles, for example, basically builds their entire brand on having prospects. And now it's like, oh, the Orioles are coming. They've got all these prospects. And yeah, they've made the playoffs the last 2 years. That's nice for them, but they're not the best team in baseball. The Dodgers are, right? So, but there's such an emphasis on having all those young players, and so teams are less inclined to get rid of them. You talk about the kind of contracts that are given up. You can only afford a Juan Soto contract if you've got a bunch of other guys who aren't making that much, because they're prospects that you've brought up through your system. Now, when you're the Yankees or the Mets or the Dodgers, that changes things a little bit. But so, yeah, I think that you look more toward the Cease deal just because, A, it's more recent, happened within this same calendar year, and B, we're just kind of in that era. And then on top of everything else, I, for one, would think that Dylan Cease was the more attractive pitcher to trade for than Garrett Crochet. They had the exact same amount of control, so theoretically you're trading for 2 years of each guy. Garrett Crochet looked fantastic last year. I've been sitting here telling you for months how the White Sox would probably be wise to keep him around, find a way to keep him around, but Dylan Cease had a track record that was much longer than the 1 year track record that Garrett Crochet has. He finished in the top 2 of the Cy Young vote. Garrett Crochet did very well in striking out guys, even though he was limited to 4 innings a game in the second half. Dylan Cease was a guy starting every time his name was called and going deeper into games as well. So I would think that I don't know if that means that the return for Garrett Crochet is going to be less than what Chris Getz got for Dylan Cease, but I think you can look at it as a pretty nice guide to what you might want to expect when you're looking at, like you said, they're looking at prospect lists. I don't know if you want to shoot right to the top, but the caveat with all of that is what I've been saying, which is different teams have different priorities, different teams are in different situations, and all Chris Getz has to do is find that one team that wants to be in that wants to win that arms race so bad that it's willing to part with somebody who they might not had been willing to part with when it came to Dylan Cease back in the spring.
And what you just said, I was going to just go the opposite way, just anecdotally, as Uncle Ted brings up. All last year when we were doing this show, people were from other teams like, why would we trade for a 4.5 ERA guy? Why would we trade for that guy who walks the yard? There's a lot of negativity around their teams acquiring Dylan Cease and then giving up their top prospects for him. And so I think also that factored into Chris Getz had a price, and no teams were hitting his price because of, I think, concerns about Dylan Cease, not his durability, not anything, but if he's going to blow up, if he's going to be walking the yard. But he did have a great year for the Padres. I think there's none of that for Garrett Crochet going into this offseason. I think people think like the only bugaboo for Garrett Crochet is that he started off strong and then they geared him down for his first year as a starter. But otherwise, next year, he's going to hit the ground running, and he's going to be at the top of the rotation. There's no concerns about his walks. There's no concerns really about his arm because he looks strong throughout. And so I think that there is a better market this year for Garrett Crochet than there was a market for Dylan Cease because the players are different. I think there's less question marks, and he's younger than what Dylan Cease was last year. Not that much younger, but still younger, even though they both only have 2 years left in their contract at the times that they will be traded.
Well, I would disagree just because of from a health standpoint. Garrett Crochet, while he showed no negative effects of that of being a starting pitcher last season, he's had multiple injuries at the major league level, something Dylan Cease has had none. Dylan Cease had 3 seasons of 30-plus starts when the White Sox traded him? Not to mention 1 year as one of the best pitchers in baseball. Garrett Crochet has one. And one that was restricted as well, as you brought up. So I think logically I would disagree. Maybe I could see you being correct. I could see that being correct. The idea of, look at this guy's arm. He's coming off this very impressive show. As opposed to Dylan Cease, who kind of bounced down after a great year. I could see that, but I think baseball ops departments are a lot less what have you done for me lately than maybe us folks on the outside might be.
And that's where the, hey, he's willing to sign an extension type of stuff comes into play. Because I think most teams knew that Dylan Cease, as his agent, is Scott Boras, was not willing to sign an extension with the team he was going to go to. So those kind of conversations with the team that you're trading with are kind of part of it. You're, as a general manager, need to show some value of the players you traded away and the player you're acquiring. If you're only getting the player you're acquiring for 2 years, which is what the Padres are getting, like they might re-sign him after this year, but he'll be available to all 30 teams after this year. Garrett Crochet might go to the other team and do the same thing as Dylan Cease, but there's at least a possibility. So that possibility, I think, opens the door for better return of players because you can at least have those conversations. He's open to it. He's willing to do that, unlike Dylan Cease's camp where they really weren't open to an extension.
Well, I think the other thing, too, this is Crochet's first year doing it, and while you would say, well, track record versus 1 year, you'd go with the track record. I think people are thinking Crochet is going to grow and develop into this. This is a guy that's 6'6" and likely hasn't even filled out his entire body, where Cease, any certain injury might derail this thing completely because he is so little, and it probably takes so much athleticism for him to do this, for him to consistently hit 99, where Crochet, we were wondering, could he do this for an entire year?
Answer was yes.
The answer was yes, resoundingly. Like, surprisingly, how well he was able to continue to throw 100. And he wasn't even doing that in the bullpen last year. So I think it's just more the allure of the potential with Crochet. And two, it's just unique. I mean, you have a ton of righties that, have a nice fastball with a good slider. You don't have a ton of 6'6" lefties with that sort of arm angle and approach, along with not only that 100-mile-per-hour fastball, but a cutter that comes out of the same slot, and you really can't tell the difference if it's going to go straight or if it's going to go cutting into the a right-hander. Like it's just unique. It's a thing that you would really only be able to create in a video game. I mean, you can create a Dylan Cease. You can find a Dylan Cease. He's just kind of had the top 100 percentile of his career. Cease's career has played out exactly how he's wanted to. Crochet, I mean, it's been seen since Tennessee that this was a big lefty who could throw hard.
Do you think also that the fact that there's not a lot of mileage on that arm from lack of starts with Tennessee, the pandemic, him getting hurt with the White Sox in 21 is also attractive to to other teams who are acquiring, because there isn't a lot of wear and tear on that arm as there might be with somebody else?
Probably. I mean, I think that's a really fair thought there. I mean, this is the first time he's ever done this, and he was an all-star. I mean, it seems like a role he wants to be in, a role that he advocated for. It seems like something that he's ready and able to go for, and especially if you give him that lock or the agreement or the what's it called, the guarantee that you have this money made. There's no reason for him not to be the best starting pitcher possible. Because if he breaks down, he's getting paid like a starting pitcher. He's going to continue to be a starting pitcher. There doesn't have to be this back and forth in his mind of, if a team acquires me for the postseason, are they going to like me as a bullpen arm? And now I'm just a bullpen arm. I think part of that too for Crochet, at least signing an extension, is, I get to be a starting pitcher. They're going to pay me like a starting pitcher. I'm going through all the top prospects of who could be traded and who could not be traded.
Okay.
Our guy, if you want to scroll up just a little bit, Sarah, our guy, just a little bit more. The Giggity's saying, so expect another Drew Thorpe-like return. We have talked a little bit about position players and Getz's want for position players. I've gotten to the top 40 of the MLB players or prospects, and here are the ones that are no ways. Walker Jenkins of Minnesota, Roman Anthony of Boston, Carson Williams of Tampa Bay, Max Clark of Detroit, Charlie Condon of Colorado, Travis Bazzana of Cleveland, Jason Dominguez of the New York Yankees, Jack Caglione of Kansas City, J.J. Weatherholt of Seattle, of St. Louis, Jacob Wilson of Oakland, or the A's, Emmanuel Rodriguez of the Minnesota Twins, he's the 29th prospect, Kevin McGonigal, he's the 31st prospect from Detroit, and then Xavier Isaacs. He is a race prospect who is 36th. You can also include Colson Montgomery on here because you can't trade him to the team that he's on. Likely not. I have Matt Shaw and Owen Casey. I don't know if you've gotten any nudges from your Cubs friends, but any thoughts on the Cubs trading for Crochet?
I think they could use him. I could imagine why they would be interested in him, right? I think the certainly if I'm the Cubs, I'm calling up Chris Getz and wondering what it's going to take. But this is a team that, while not hesitant to spend, has been kind of
hesitant to spend.
On and off,
Weird.
In terms of from one offseason to the next. Obviously, they brought back Bellinger, but, it just seems like they would be valuing a couple of cheap prospects that would come up and potentially star for them for the next 6 years. But you know what? You can say that about any team on there, I suppose. I don't know how win now the Cubs really are. Are they a Garrett Crochet away from being a World Series contender? I don't think so.
No.
So it might make more sense for them to hold on to the prospects as we're looking at the kind of like, what situation are these teams in? That would be my reaction there initially, but yeah.
And they seem to be very, kind of, they seem to be shy with their money. I don't think that this is a team that would trade for him and sign an extension.
That's the thing. Like, I don't know what's going on over there at Clark at Addison, but go over there. Look at the area. That's all Cubs. They own all that around there. How are they poor? How are they every year I'm seeing them? Oh, we ain't going to be in this conversation. We ain't going to be in that conversation. When are you going to be on any conversation? Keep on getting these secondary free agents. Like, Cody Bellinger has turned out all right for the Cubs, but he was a second or tertiary option in that free agent market when he first signed with them. Like, they don't go out and get the best, biggest guy in the market. I know they tried for Shohei, but they didn't get him. Like, are they not going to go out for Juan Soto? Are they not going to go out for, I'm sure they're going to go out for the pitcher we talked about, Riki Sasaki, because he's inexpensive, but what the hell's wrong with the Cubs? If you're not going to sign big-time players, this is the path. The Owen Caseys of the world need to be on the White Sox. The Ben Browns of the world need to be on the White Sox. If you're not going to be paying money, then what the hell are you going to be doing otherwise? Because that team, as I'm looking at it right now, no, absolutely not. They probably can't even win the Central next year.
I mean, they signed Soriano that one time.
Did sign Soriano that one time.
And traded for Nosmar Garcia-Parra.
Oh, remember that?
Your guy.
Mercy. That's a really just legendary Chicago jersey. I think
Number 5?
I'm going to respect a 5 Garcia.
You see him often too,
as you should.
Yeah.
So if Nomar was a White Sox and it could have happened, I would be proudly wearing my Nomar jersey every week. Luke McDowell saying, "Come on, Sean. Cubs have too many outfielders. Cassie would be great." I would take Matt Shaw and Owen Casey or whatever the hell his name is in a heartbeat. Sure, whatever. Or if you want to go with Moises, and Luke told me how to say his name correctly.
Not Alu.
Ballesteros?
No, Ballesteros, yeah. Ballesteros. If you want to give me any of those guys, that's fine. I just don't think that the Cubs are going to be the team that signs an extension. That's why I don't think he's going to go to the Cubs. Here's the conversation that I do want to figure out, and then we'll move on to Nicky Lopez. Here are the maybes on this list. Marcelo Mayer of Boston, he's the 7th-ranked prospect in Major League Baseball. Kobe Mayo, he's the Baltimore prospect who's 8th-ranked in baseball. Jordan Lawler of the Diamondbacks, 9th-ranked in baseball. Christian Campbell of the Red Sox, 10th-ranked in baseball. Samuel Basallo of Baltimore, he's the 13th-ranked prospect in baseball. Ethan Salas of the Padres, 19th-ranked prospect in baseball. Sebastian Walcott, the Rangers prospect, who's 23rd in baseball. Aiden Miller, who's of the Phillies, 26th prospect in baseball. Colt Emerson of the Mariners, 27th in baseball. Leodalis DeVries of the Padres, he's the 28th prospect in baseball. Bryce Eldridge of the Giants, 35th prospect in baseball. And Cole Young of the Mariners, 38th in baseball. I stopped there because 39th is Dalton Rushing of the Dodgers. And I think if the Dodgers are offering Dalton Rushing, like you have to beat that. Like I think the Dodgers are very willing to give up a player like Dalton Rushing for Garrett Crochet to bolster their chances in 2025. So I think you have to beat that player. Maybe I'm wrong on that, and maybe the White Sox aren't really interested in Rushing because he is like a catcher. They like Caro enough. It's another first baseman. How much can a first baseman actually elevate your team? But I do think that's likely going to be, or has been, a player that has been offered to the White Sox. So which team can beat them and are willing to beat them? It looks like Boston, and it looks like Baltimore. And then if Seattle and the Padres, like their GMs usually do, get interested and get involved, I think it's fair to say them. So I would say my 4 most possible teams: Boston, Baltimore, Padres, and Seattle, just because I think they're willing to pull the trigger, where Philadelphia, I don't know if they're going to be pulling the trigger on Aiden Miller. And I don't think anything besides, you can't give me, who's the other guy that they wanted? Robinson, I think, is the other catcher, or the other prospect in the top 100 for the Phillies. Crawford. I don't think it's Crawford plus Bohm is going to get you Crochet, right?
No,
I think you got to get a Miller plus to get a Crochet, but maybe I'm off, and maybe I'll be disappointed, and maybe it will be somebody 50 or below.
And that's what you need. You need the Padres and the Mariners to get involved in these conversations so you can get the most value, because as somebody pointed out, I mean, AJ Preller would do anything to better his team, but they don't have the money. They're running up against the money thing. To acquire Garrett Crochet, you don't have to sign him to an extension. You could just give out prospects. And imagine that, having Garrett Crochet and Dylan Cease on the rotation. And they do need another rotation piece, as Mr. Musgrove is out for the next year. So I can see them wanting to part with some players, but also prospect hugging those top guys. Like DeVries, that's going to be tough for them to let go. The young catcher, really tough for them to let go. Is like Ethan Salas. I think he's 18 years old. I don't think they're going to let him go.
Are they trying to win?
They're trying to win.
Salas can't help you.
They're trying to win, but that guy, they feel like he's going to be something.
Crochet, you got an ace for 10 years. All right, make sure you're hitting that thumbs up button. We got 60 people watching, 20 likes. So if you haven't hit that thumbs up button, make sure you do. And if you hit the downvote button, you're dead to me. Let's go to White Sox news. We have Nicky Lopez and Sammy Peralta electing their free agency. They were placed on waivers. They chose free agency. Let's start with the big news. Peralta is a free agent. Where is he signing?
I mean, if we're following history, he's going to wind up back on the White Sox at some point, right?
Mercy. He's going to be a non-roster invite come spring training. We love Sammy Peralta.
They just that guy does nothing but get
DFA'd and
moved off the White Sox and moved back onto the White Sox.
He's the Danny Mendick of pitching.
He didn't go anywhere. See, look, Sean, now you got people doing dislikes.
We had 19 likes and 1 dislike, and now we have 21 likes and 2 dislikes. So I'll take that as a positive interaction. We got more likes than dislikes. It's worth the plug. I heard. What do we make of Nicky Lopez and Vinny? Obviously, you two as well. You talked about you possibly see Nicky Lopez being a possibility for the 2025 Sox.
I mean, he still can be, but they just didn't like the price tag. It was like $6 million to pay him next year.
Yeah, to non-tender.
I can see him going out to the market and seeing what is out there, and the jobs that he'll be having mostly will be a fifth infielder type of player coming off the bench at a low price. Now, the White Sox could use a guy like him that maybe starts at second, maybe starts at short, but also for their price, lower than the $5 million or $6 million price tag that he had towards him. I'm sure that he will be out there and available for the White Sox to re-sign, because I don't think anybody's going to be going bananas for Nicky Lopez for $3, $4, $5 million. So good luck to him. I thought he, in his 1 year, was valuable enough for the White Sox, was a Gold Glove finalist. So if anything, he was a good example for the young middle infielders the White Sox had there.
We'll probably find out what's most important to Nicky, right? I mean, this is a guy who is a great clubhouse presence for the White Sox, and I'm sure they would like to have him back as a veteran on an infield with a lot of question marks, right? Where you might need somebody to be a stopgap for a while you're waiting for some of these prospects if some of those other younger players don't necessarily pan out the way you want them to. But it's going to require a very, very low-cost contract. Does Nicky Lopez get a similar offer from a contending team to be a fifth or sixth infielder because of that defensive prowess? And does he say, why don't I try winning this year? Or does he say, hey, I am very comfortable living in my hometown, playing in my hometown. Maybe that meant a lot to him. And if the money is kind of even and not eye-popping across the league, maybe he gets his pick. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to be on this team if I'm Nicky Lopez, but if I get to play every day, maybe that's what's going to be most important. I think it's possible he gets the chance to if he signs as their second baseman. You've brought up shortstop as well. He got a decent amount of looks at shortstop for the White Sox. It seems fairly uninteresting, though. It seems like a player with a very low top end. And even if you do sign Nicky Lopez back, it's not like you're going to trade him for anything.
Yeah.
Where the DeYoung thing, it was kind of surprising that he even was traded for anything. And that was mainly just because he was able to locate fastballs and hit the hell out of fastballs. So I do wonder if they're looking for a little bit more upside, where Lopez seems like a backup plan, if anything, just because of his glove.
Well, and you would think, too, that if teams were interested in having his glove, he would have been traded at the deadline in July.
Right.
So he was healthy and he was playing good defense all year long, and they didn't trade him.
It's probably worth just, playing the waiver game and just, like fantasy football, waiting until Wednesday at 3 a.m. to see if you got the guy and if anyone else was interested in Nicky Lopez's glove.
And ultimately, he'll sign a major league contract, you guys think?
I don't know.
Major league?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, you never know how the market plays out, man. I mean, Tommy Pham was a cleanup hitter for a team that won a pennant, and the White Sox signed him, and the White Sox signed him to a minor league contract after the season started. You never know what happens with these markets. Obviously we wish Nicky the best. He was a great guy to talk to. But you could see him ending up without a major league job come spring training. You just got to see how all that plays out.
Yeah, and maybe that's the case too, where the White Sox are the only team offering a major league contract, and boom, there you go.
I feel sorry for our guy Howard Ankin. He has to find another guy.
Yeah, we want to play that game before we get into the CHGO diehard read. Which current White Sox is going to be the next face of Howard Ankin commercials on CHSN?
Herb?
Well, it has to be on the White Sox 26-man roster.
Currently, yes.
Currently. Unless you want to be bold.
No, I mean, I was going to go, local Joe Wilco. Or we can go Noah Schultz. But I was thinking...
You have them both. And Howard will just look so short.
Yeah. Oh, my Jesus. I'm thinking if he's still around, Andrew Vaughn. He can be the guy there. And short, too. So he can be at right eye level.
There you go.
I'm going with Southpaw.
Okay. Yeah. I think,
Here he is. Right here.
I'm with you, Herb. I think it's first base, but I think it's Gavin Sheets. I mean, I've heard Vinnie off air refer to him as the leader in the clubhouse. You got to have the leader representing the team. And Gavin seems like he can do media. I don't know. He seems like he can stand there for 15 seconds and say, thanks, Howard. Gavin could do that. I see him really sliding into that spot well. So Gavin Sheets is my vote. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Who would replace Nicky Lopez as the Howard Ankin?
Will Venable might have the best odds, to be fair.
That's actually
new
good.
Manager.
Someone brought up Ozzy. Ozzy I could see as well. Nicky Lopez was pleasant when we had him on the show. We wish him the best. We appreciate him, and maybe we'll see if that ends up happening. I don't think it's going to be Hagen Smith, but we'll see. I mean, Hagen, maybe he wants to get into law.
He's tall, too.
He is tall, too. All right. Luke is one of our diehards, along with Jared. We appreciate all of our diehards that are hanging out with us, Melissa, as well. If you do want to join the biggest and best community of Chicago sports fans, come be a part of it. Check out allchgo.com/diehard. You get access to being a diehard. You get a free shirt, access to exclusive written content on allchgo.com. You get discounts to events and merchandise, and access to our CHGO Discord lounge where you get to chat and talk Chicago sports. Not only Chicago sports, because that's been fairly depressing with the Bears, White Sox, Bulls, and Blackhawks. You could also talk music. There's a music channel that's been very active as well. So head over to allchgo.com/diehard to sign up today, and you get to chat with us about any of your baseball thoughts. Vinny, do you want to release your thought? Or we can save it. If you want to tease your content plan.
Oh, we're gonna have some Discord chats coming up with me. I'm gonna put on a record every week. You have me till the end of the record. Once side B is done, the chat's over. But we're gonna do that once a week. I'll let you guys know in the Discord what day that's gonna be happening.
And you're gonna pick one that's side A, side B. You're not gonna do like a Springsteen 8-disc live record from 75
Not unless
to 85.
I have a lot of time.
Okay, you could borrow it if you need it.
I've got it.
All right,
Don't worry.
Well, and every vintage record store has 6 to 7 copies. All right, hit that thumbs up button. Make sure you're subscribing to the CHGO Sports YouTube channel. We have a CHGO Bull Show coming up at 5:30, so stay tuned in a half an hour when Matt Peck, Big Dave, and Will Gottlieb will be talking Bulls with you. That's Vinnie Duber, our CHGO White Sox beat writer. That's Herb Lawrence, our CHGO White Sox community leader. I'm Sean Anderson. Thank you to Sarah for producing the show. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Goodbye.
We all silly like the mayor.